We're taking a look at the fight against insurgency and the security architecture. Yes, you've heard that term quite a number of times. So this morning, we'll have that conversation with Major General Solomon Odonwa, as you have seen in that opening slide. He is a Commandant, Army War College, Nigeria. He is a graduate of United States Army War College, winner of Oxford University Press Prize, and I could go on and on. Good morning, and thank you for joining us on Sunrise Daily.
Good morning, Kayode. Thank you for having me.
Great to have you. Now, the Army War College came on stream years after Nigeria started its war against insurgency. And for a lot of people, they'll be thinking, why did it take that long to start the Army War College when Nigeria had been at war for quite some time? How do you respond to that?
Well, thank you. And I would first like to make a distinction between the National Defense College and the Army War College, which I lead, because I've often heard a lot of questions about why do we have the Army War College, why do we have the National Defense College. The Army War College, as you rightly mentioned, was established about 3 years ago, 2017. And this came about because it was observed that the training cycle of a military officer involves the tactical level training, the basic training from entry level up to the Armed Forces Command and Staff College in Jaji, and then the operational level training, and the last one, the strategic level training, which was being conducted by the National Defense College, Abuja. Now, the operational level training wasn't very comprehensive. It was conducted by at the tactical level and the strategic level in small packages. And we felt that it was necessary to crystallize the training of operational level officers, officers who are prosecuting the war against insurgency, as staff officers at formations and operational theaters and as commanders. And so the president approved the establishment of the war colleges, the Army War College in Abuja, the Naval War College in Calabar, the Air Force War College in Makurdi. Now, these colleges focus on developing the competencies of our operational commanders and staff to be able to effectively manage war using critical thinking skills, strategic thinking skills, to understand all the imperatives of our national security, our national defense policy, the need for interagency cooperation and collaboration, and the need to draw lessons from past operations and military history, and concretize all this into designing or formulating military strategy that will help us to combat some of these challenges we are facing today. You know, so the establishment of the college under the leadership of Lieutenant General T.Y. Buratai, the Chief of Army Staff, is very timely, is very apt. We are already seeing the value it has added to our operations across the country. We make a lot of inputs into operational designs, campaign plans at all the theaters, and the staff at these formations and theaters are better place to contribute to the fight against insecurity in the country.
Right. But even with those inputs at the different theaters and operations, we still see lingering insecurity, insurgency, banditry. I mean, just recently, the Kaduna-Abuja highway came back into the news with, kidnappings and killings. It's been a challenge. The war against insurgency alone has been on for about a decade or more. And the question now is, why has it lingered on for that long? I know you look at models, like you said, you give your inputs, but why has this lingered on? Is there a peculiarity to the security challenge that Nigeria has?
Yeah, thank you. I think until we probably bring angels down to earth to populate the earth, we are still going to have security challenges, and even increasing in complexity. Countries have their peculiar security challenges. Right now, we have even developed countries facing national security challenges arising from COVID-19 pandemic with fatalities or daily mortality rates in thousands. We are lucky we are not having that right now. So we in the Army War College, our training, we don't want to see this as isolated issues. We see this under the larger context of what is happening, not only within our borders, but also across the borders, how they are interconnected with developmental issues, with environmental challenges, climate change issues, with what is happening in the Maghreb countries, in other parts of the world. So we look at it in totality. We teach our participants or students how to look at these problems and challenges, come up with strategies to address them in an interagency, intergovernmental, multinational kind of framework that would be better suitable to address these challenges. And I think the Army War College has really come up with very good ideas that have contributed to addressing these challenges.
Help me understand better, or should I say help Nigerians understand better. What are these challenges really? Because we look at the security challenges and we think this shouldn't be hard really, because like you said, if you look at other countries, you see how they handle it and how these things have been quelled largely. But back here, you see that for a while it goes silent and all of a sudden it spikes again and it goes on for a long while. So help Nigerians understand. What are those challenges specifically?
I think we've witnessed a massive improvement in our security. I think you might not agree with me, but I was defense advisor at a permanent mission to the United Nations in New York. And a colleague from another country came up to me and said, how were you able to address all the challenges? How were you able to stop all the bombings that were going on? Even in your capital, in the surrounding cities? How were you able to defeat the insurgents that held territories within such a short time? We have been battling our own security challenges for over 50 years. This is what another military advisor was asking me. And I think we should commend ourselves. We should commend the effort of the military in terming these very difficult and complex security challenges. And we can only, have it better in the coming months. I am aware that a lot of effort is ongoing now in all our theaters to finally, address these lingering challenges. They might never go away completely, but the military will always be a step ahead. And that's what we teach at the Army War College, trying to see these challenges even before they occur, linking them up, scanning the environment continuously, looking out for indicators and evolving solutions even before they become major challenges for our country, for the sub-region and for other parts of the world.
Because, just on Saturday, there was that ambush by ISWAP fighters where 7 soldiers and 1 militiaman were killed. That's just on Saturday. And, you have pockets of this across the country. If not kidnappings, you have attacks. So to that extent, when you say I wouldn't agree with you, well, the facts are out there. And Nigerians experience this on a daily basis. So in those models, because I think this is a good time to explain to Nigerians what goes on behind the scenes. So in those models, is it a problem with personnel, administration? What exactly is it?
It is not a problem about personnel or administration or equipment or anything like that. I think if you look at minor incidents, I would like to call it, and you think there are major issues, you probably will be missing the bigger picture of how we've been able to, stop those bigger challenges that we've been facing in the past. Whatever we are facing now, it's in its final throes. I can assure you a lot of effort is going on right now to finally close the curtain on some of the challenges we are having. But like I said earlier, you might still be having little issues here and there, and that's why we are at the Army War College, helping the military high command understand or, bringing our own perspective, our own suggestions into how, these operations could be better conducted or fine-tuned for the final, decimation of whatever challenges we are still having.
Well, General, you mentioned when you started to talk, you talked about interagency collaboration. The President has mentioned it more than twice. And it seems like it's an issue that's not in a hurry to go away. And every time there is some issues of security between maybe the military and the police, most of the time it doesn't end well, and it gets murky and in the public, and it becomes an embarrassment to the two institutions. We have also heard that in the high command of both the police and the military, it's really smooth and good there, but when it comes to the officers and the men who do the work on the lower rung of the ladder, that's probably where the issues are. So what is being done, or is there anything at the operational training level that you talked about? What are the things that are missing that would help to address that interagency collaboration that has been absent over time? Because without that, dealing with this insurgency might be an issue.
I don't think interagency collaboration and cooperation has been absent. What you are talking about mainly are maybe minor friction at the lower ranks. In my war college, for example, we have trained 166 officers, and another 65 are graduating tomorrow, 27 November. Some of the participants come from the Nigerian Police Force, the Federal Road Safety Corps, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission. In fact, almost all the agencies are represented on the focuses we have conducted. We even have participants from other countries. And so at the operational level, we have that cooperation, that collaboration, that synergy. And this is where the whole action takes place. If you are talking about minor scuffles in the streets between personnel of the services, that does not amount to lack of synergy and interagency cooperation. Those are just maybe personal frictions. But
that is what the people see,
Our
General.
operations are jointly conducted.
Yes, General, that is what the people see. That is what they see. That is what they experience. And for as long as they continue to experience that, that is the opinion that they're going to hold. So if this is seen as minor to the authorities, then how do we interface that fact with the people who experience these things with the security agencies on a frequent basis?
I think any negative perception you probably see about interagency cooperation and collaboration are mostly domestic. I mean, as defense advisor, I visited our troops in Mali, in MINUSMA, and there was excellent cooperation between the formed police unit there and the military unit there. In fact, when the formed police unit's kitchen was blown away by, windstorm, it was the soldiers that helped to construct that. So I think what we need to do is to create more awareness that there is no friction as such. We are working towards the same goal, towards the same national security objectives. The foundational basis for all our engagement is the Constitution of the Federal Republic. There is no acrimony. And if there are issues at lower levels, we resolve them quickly. We intervene, investigate, punish those who are culpable. But that does not detract from the overall cooperation and collaboration we enjoy with sister services and other security agencies.
Well, in that light, you have also talked about the need for people to be better educated, to be better informed about the operations of the two agencies. That brings us to the issue of military-civilian relationship. A number of people have alluded to how well or not that has been over time, given the kind of interface that they had, during the protests, that took place recently. How has, the authorities taken that on board especially the kind of feedback, the backlash that has come, and what can we do to make sure that that kind of understanding or misunderstanding does not recur?
Well, one of the core packages we have at the Army War College in terms of our training has to do with protection of civilians. And this package is facilitated by the International Committee for the Red Cross and another NGO called the Centers for Civilians in Conflict. I mean, when I was in New York, and I would like to refer to this because when I got to New York, I observed that most United Nations missions had protection of civilians as part of their mission or mandate. And so we brought that back home. In 2016, the Nigerian Army developed the human rights policy and then created the human rights desk across the unit, established the short code 193 for the public to call in and make complaints about the Army. We have domesticated all this in our training curriculum as well. And even at the lower levels in the Nigerian Defense Academy, when I was Cadets Brigade Commander in 2010, I remember sending my cadets to the Institute for International Humanitarian Law in San Remo, Italy, for competition with other military academies around the world on international humanitarian law and human rights issues. And they came back with all the prizes. And people were asking us, how did you do that? It's because we start early to train our officers and our soldiers on the imperatives of upholding human rights, adhering to code of conduct, adhering to the rules of engagement, working within the ambits of the Constitution. Last year, because of all these developments we have made in our Army, considering protection of civilians, we were invited to the African Union in Addis Ababa to share experiences with other African country militaries. And we took them through what we've done, the doctrinal reviews since 2017, incorporating all these concepts into our doctrine, cascading that into our training curriculum in all our schools, including the Army War College, which I lead, development of all these policies, having theater-specific rules of engagement, creating special units and formations to deal with issues of human rights, such as the Women Corps. Of course, because of gender sensitivity in some areas, we had to establish the Women's Corps so that we can extend our reach and bring some gender-specific skills into our operation. So we have done a lot. And like I said, I think we need to increase the awareness and let people know that, issues that borders on the freedom, liberty, and protection of civilians, human rights issues are, well covered by the Nigerian Army. And we continue to improve on this, look for international best practices, adapt them to our training, continue to sensitize our personnel. The Nigerian Army is the people's army. We are the pride of the nation. We are here to protect the people. And I used to teach my students or my participants that successful military operations rest on a tripod of people, government, and the military. The military is there to protect the people. The government supports the military and provides for the well-being of the people. The people have to support their military as well and to trust their government. So we work within the ambits of the Constitution, under the ambits of international law, and all these have been infused into our operations. And I think we can always get better, but we are doing our best.
Speaking of getting better, I mean, it will be hard to take away the fact that the experience, the latest experience a lot of Nigerians have about the Army, either directly or indirectly via social media, is that incident at Lekki toll gate. And I remember speaking with one of the activists, the NSAS protests activist, and she said that, no, this was in Abuja, that she was assaulted by military men of the Nigerian Army. So when you say, well, things can get better, I'm thinking in terms of training at the college, are you retooling anything in the light of recent happenings, maybe to ensure that it don't happen again in terms of maybe the courses or the elements that you will be teaching there?
Well, in the college, we bring lessons from engagement like that into our training, but we don't look at isolated incidents like that. We look at the overall picture, how we can improve on our curriculum. We, without special reference to one incident alone. We bring all the lessons together, improve our curriculum, and make recommendations. So I think talking about the answers, I would say there is a panel in place, and we should just await the report of that panel.
Panel is looking at incidents, individual incidents. So, I mean, I know they are important in framing the kind of response that the Army gives. But on a final note, so there's a graduation coming, and where, as usual, we're always looking at how this will improve the security situation in the country. You say this is not just for the Army, this is across different agencies, even the FRSC. So is there a commitment you're making maybe for this set that once they're out, this is the impact it will have on the security situation in the country?
Well, I think our graduates are already impacting on the field. The 166 that are already out there, including foreign participants, we get a lot of feedback on the value they are adding to operations in their services, in their organizations, in their countries. And this is very heartwarming for us, and we owe this to the support of the Chief of Army Staff, who has provided guidance, infrastrucral development, giving us a lot of support in terms of our academic development. And I think the value is going to be really, really huge, for our country in addressing these issues. And talking about the college again, it's one of the many transformational initiatives of the current administration. And I would like, to, refer our viewers to this book that was launched or presented to the public at Faskari, Katsina State during the last Nigerian Army Day celebrations. The book is titled The Compendium of Nigerian Army Transformation, 2015 to 2020, the Buratai years. And some of the misconceptions, some of the negative perceptions about the military can be addressed by just reading certain chapters of this book on how the military has been reorganized in the last 5 years, how we have improved our administration and sustainment, how we have improved on our policy, and how we have created some specialized units that are, that have brought a lot of added capabilities and values to our operations across the country. And, on a final note, I would just want to thank Nigerians for the support to the Nigerian Army. And I know the support could, be better than this. I remember as a young lieutenant, I was in ECOMOG operations in Liberia. And one of the factors that led to the, to the success of that operation was the support of the Liberian people. They printed T-shirts with the inscription, "Thank God for ECOMOG." They proudly wore it, and around the city, radio jingles were played in support of ECOMOG operations, and even musicians recorded music, to eulogize the operations of the ECOMOG forces. We want to see that also happening here. In the U.S., I walked into a mall one day in military uniform, and an elderly woman in her 80s rather walked up to me. She didn't care about the uniform I was wearing, and she said, "Thank you for what you are doing for our country, and thank you for what you are doing for the world." So many times we were given preferential treatment to board flights before other passengers. Even at theme parks, people will stand up and applaud all military personnel present at the park.
Well, Major
this
General,
is the kind of support we want to see the Nigerian people give their military. Because this is very, very essential to, to us combating some of the challenges we are having today.
Well, Nigerians are definitely grateful for the sacrifice your men make. And I imagine a lot of them, especially in the light of the recent incidents, asking for more transparency also from the Army. But we'd like to thank you so much for giving us, behind the scenes of what plays out and what happens.
Let me just make a final. Comment.
Okay, if you can do that in 20 seconds.
Comments.
Yes, please go ahead.
Yes, I will do that in 20 seconds. We accept criticism. We want to improve, but casting aspersion on the military is not the right thing to do. It has the tendency to weaken the resolve of those still fighting. It dishonors the memory of those who have fallen. It aggravates the pain, of people who have lost loved ones. and it has the tendency to undermine the only true national institution we have in our country today, which is the military. Thank you very much.
Well, that's a great place to anchor. Major General Solomon Udonwa, the Commandant, Army War College of Nigeria. Thank you so much for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you for having me.